Hi everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my first video of January because I'm still working on wrapping up last year. So this is like my first official video for the new year and new stuff. And I'm going to be starting that off with a wrap up. So yes, it's already the end of January. I haven't finished any of my last year's reading stuff, but we're getting there. We're almost done. Reading doesn't stop, which is good because I have some stuff to talk about at the end of this month. So first we're going to go over my manga and comic, and then we will get into the books themselves. So the first book I read was Yona of the Dawn by Misaho Kusanagi. This is a shoujo manga, which basically means it is a manga aimed at a younger female demographic, normally between the ages of 12 and 18. So basically this is like a young adult manga, and this is a high action political romance story, and it's the 40th volume. I've been reading this for a while, collecting it for a while. It's one of my favorite series of all time. It's just so good. Highly recommend this. Our story begins with our princess Yona, who is escaping the palace after an attempted coup on her life, and kind of the trials and tribulations that come with leaving her kingdom for the first time, learning about the world. It's so good. There's a reason I've been reading it for this long. I really want to do a big reread of this because it's not quite at the end. We are definitely closing in on something. I'm not sure if we'll get to volume 50. I'm really excited to see this. I've been reading it for so long. I'd love to see how this ends, but also be very sad because I do really love this series. And then the next comic I have is Fence Volume 6 Redemption. I will say I feel like the paper quality has gone down for Fence, which is really unfortunate. The pages aren't as thick and glossy as they used to be, but this is a sports comic following fencing. Our main character Nicholas is joining this high elite fencing team, who are also seen as the underdogs of the fencing high school realm. So it's him trying to join the team, and then the rival situation that comes with joining a team, his roommate being his biggest rival. It's silly, it's camp, it's very much in that kind of sports anime kind of feel, and I'm really excited to see where we go from here because we are starting into competition season at the end of this volume. But that's another comic series that's been going on for a while, and I'm hoping we get to the end. I know the authors are busy with other projects, so I'm hoping we get to that conclusion because I'm really having a good time with it. So now let's get into the novels that I read. The first novel being Season of Love by Helena Greer. I read this to finish out my holiday reading vlog, and I didn't start this until January, but I said, hey, I have it. I don't want to wait a year to read it, so let's just get this read, finish out that vlog, and so you can see more of my thoughts and opinions on this book in that vlog. I will say this was definitely my favorite book of the vlog, but it was still kind of a 3-star middle of the road book for me. It was cute, there was a lot going on, it had some heavier topics as well that characters were dealing with, but basically our main character Miriam is going home to a Christmas tree farm so that she can sit Shiva for her aunt. Miriam has not really wanted to go home. This is very much an unwanted family reunion on her part, but things get complicated when she finds out that she is a part of the will to inherit this Christmas tree farm along with her cousin, which she's had a falling out with, as well as our second main character, who is Noelle, who is a farmer on this tree farm, and from there they have an instant attraction to each other, but there's just a lot of stuff going on. They have to save the tree farm, there's some family stuff going on, so it's gay, Christmassy, celebrates a couple different holidays, but again, it was middle of the road for me. Not my least favorite book, not my favorite book, but definitely my favorite of the Christmas reading vlog. So if you want more in-depth thoughts and opinions, I will have that reading vlog, of course. But let's get into two of the books that I haven't really talked about on my channel yet. The first one is going to be Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. I have been wanting to read the Truth Witch series for a very long time. I've been kind of debating it because, again, it's YA, it's an older YA. When I hear people talk about this, they really like it, but I feel like it's definitely not the most popular of this era. And one day at work, I was like, I want something a little bit over the top. I want something goofy. I want something angsty. I want something high action, fast paced. And so I saw that Truth Witch was available, so I picked it up as an audiobook, and oh my god, I was not prepared for this. So Truth Witch is that high action, fast-paced kind of plot that I was looking for, but it is definitely not silly goofy. There's a little bit of angst, a little bit of melodrama with that romance, but again, not really. It is much more serious than I kind of expected going in. There's kind of those like fantasy tropes of like chosen ones and stuff like that, characters being powerful, but it feels so deliberate in here. It does doesn't feel like goofy YA kind of tropey time. It's very much very, very solid fantasy read. I would say it really borders on young adult because there are consequences for characters are not completely overpowered. The setting in a lot of respects is a lot darker than a lot of other young adult books. Again, there's consequences. Like, it's not just dark and bad things going on. Like, there's actual consequences and danger. It feels like the characters are in peril a lot of the time. So I was really delightedly surprised by this because this just ended up being really, really good and a little bit different than I expected. So basically our main characters, because this is a multiple perspective novel, so we have Safiya and Iseult, who are best friends. They are considered thread witches to each other, which basically means they have a very, very tight bond, and both of them have magical abilities and have been training and learning. Safiya is from a noble line of her country, whereas Iseult is from a ethnic group that is not seen as super desirable by this country. Iseult is a thread witch, so she can see the connections between people, and Safiya is a truth witch, so she can kind of tell when things are not the truth, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So it's them kind of getting thrown into this like political machinations stuff going on, but it's also them figuring stuff out about their world, and there's a lot going on. It's really, really excellent, a really good build, just really, really good groundwork being laid for a really good series. I will say I'm not quite sure how the two can be thread sisters, because it's kind of said that people cannot be thread people or thread family with thread witches, so I'm not really sure how Iseult and Safiya see themselves as thread sisters, and there's some other stuff that I'm sure we'll get into in later books in the series. So like, I have questions, but overall this really, really strong, really, really solid. But I will say I've been listening to this on audiobook and I'm going to continue to do so, but I am very confused by the audiobook. The narration though it's very weird for the audiobook. I think the standard narration is done beautifully. It's a regular American accent, but it has like a very strong kind of silkiness to it, and I think it works really well for a fantasy novel. I have no complaints about that. But when characters are speaking, the narrator takes on a thick Eastern European style accent, which to me does not make sense. A lot of these characters are from different places, and yet she's giving them the same accent. So like, it's not like this is a fantasy accent to denote the different kingdoms. Like, they should have different accents if that were true. They just have this accent for whatever reason, and nothing in the text connotes that this is an Eastern European setting to me. So like, if I was reading Witch and the Woodsman and you gave everybody like that Eastern European accent, like, it wouldn't phase me because that makes sense. That's where we're set in. But like, this feels more Italian, so I'm not really sure why we're getting that, and again, why every character is getting that accent when we're from different places. And besides that, I feel like the voice that a lot of the characters are given is just really obnoxious, especially for Iseult and Safiya. They are given kind of this breathy, high-pitched kind of quality, which I feel like does not fit their characters' vibes at all. And it'll be really funny because the audiobook will say something like, and then this character said, in like a very sarcastic tone or a very flat tone. Like, it's a very serious moment where the characters are not playing around, and it'll just be like, oh, hi, da da da. And I'm like, bitch, that's not what the book just said, that they were being sarcastic or that they were being very flat. And she gives them like this weird breathy melodramatic quality to them, and it's like, I have to read them as audiobooks. Like, I'm reading them at work. That's how I'm able to consume them, or else I'd never finish the series. And so I'm trying to ignore it, but I will say, like, if you have the choice to not pick up the audiobook, don't, because it's weird. There were just stylistic choices that I don't like. But anyway, this book, it's weird because it has the accolades. When people talk about it, I feel like they like it. It has a lot of blurbs from authors that people really like, and yet I feel like this is not a standard on YouTube. It's not held up there with some of the other titles, and I feel like it should be. Like, honestly, this is way better than like Throne of Glass or any of those kind of fantasy novels that were coming out at the same time, 2015-ish. This is so, so good, and I'm just excited to see where the series goes from here. It's not even finished yet. There's like another book that has to come out, so yes, I'm jumping on this train. I'm really enjoying myself. And then the final book that I read for the month of January is going to be The Second Rebel by Lyndon A. Lewis. Because I gave Truthwitch a 4-star and I gave this a 4.25 star, this is my favorite book of January. So this is the second book in the First Sisters trilogy. This is a multiple perspective sci-fi, and so we are following a couple couple different characters spanning these different political factions. So this book takes place in the future of Earth. Humans have kind of divided into these factions. We have a pro-military faction that kind of has like a religious cult kind of vibe, and then we have a faction that is very, again, pro-military, but has a very strong use of technology, but they also do like a lot of human experimentation and stuff like that. And so it's these two sides fighting against each other. Definitely neither are in the right. There's problems on both sides, and there's also these smaller rebel groups. There are synthetic people, as well as this group of people that have been so experimented on that they are not even really considered human anymore, but they are living amongst the society and kind of outcasted by the society because of their mutations. And so we have a couple different characters that fall on different sides of the political sphere, but I would say kind of our main three characters, we have a character from the first book who was an audio recording. They are seen as a traitor to their side, and they are now living amongst the rebels and trying to fight this force. And then we also have another person that is on the pro-military soldier technology side, and then our other main character is a nun in this religious order and is trying to like fight for their autonomy. And so it's really interesting as a multiple perspective novel because we're seeing these characters overlapping, kind of crossing paths, but not really. Even still, our two sides have not quite come together, and I'm very excited to see how they come together in our third and final novel. But yeah, this is like political machinations, heavy sci-fi, fast-paced. It's like rompy space opera, but again, it has like this really intense plot line that's happening, a very dark setting, really reflective of our own world, and it just has such great characters that really buoy us up in this world where hope just seems very hopeless. And this is just so good. It's definitely one of the best sci-fi series that I personally have read. I've not read like a lot of space opera, but like if I'm reading space opera, this is what I'm looking for. It's high action, it's fast-paced, it has everything that I want, but also, again, attention to characters, attention to character arcs that makes me really, really interested and keeps me invested in these characters and their world. I'm worried for the third book. I feel like things are gonna happen because, again, this series is dark, but also I'm so excited because this series is really something to sink your teeth into. It's really, really good. If you're looking for a queer sci-fi, because yes, this is very queer, look no further than this, but I really, really like this. Definitely the best book that I've read so far this year. So yeah, those are going to be the 5 things that I read in January. Read a lot of stuff that I really, really enjoyed. Read a lot of stuff that I'm looking to discussing further in future videos, hopefully. But let me know what you read in the comments down below. I would love to know. As always, the algorithm is not a friend to small creators, so any likes, comments, subscribes, always very appreciated. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading!